A British mother by the name of Sara Ege, or Ege, beat her 7-year-old son to death for not memorizing the Koran. She was quoted as saying, "I was getting all this bad stuff in my head, like I couldn't concentrate. I was getting very wild, and I hit Yaseen with a stick on his back like a dog." She beat him to the point where he had mucus coming out of his nose, a green mucus coming out of his nose, and unfortunately he did not survive. And the thought of someone murdering their own child because he couldn't memorize the Quran disgusts me.
So it wasn't just that. After he died, she lit him on fire.
Yeah.
We believe after he died. She said that he was not reacting, and apparently she wanted to get rid of the evidence, and that's why she burned him. Now, we've talked often about these ridiculous killings in the Muslim world, and whether it's honor killings or in this case you haven't memorized the Quran enough. And I've talked about some of the schools throughout the Middle East that teach you to memorize the Quran. They don't even bother teaching you what's in it. And I use Turkey as an example because most of the kids in Turkey, almost all of them, speak Turkish and not Arabic. And the Quran is in Arabic. Now, of course, there are versions in Turkish, but in some of the schools, the religious schools, not the real public schools or private schools in Turkey, they teach the kids to memorize the Quran in Arabic. So they don't even know what they're memorizing. And one deranged woman here, when her 7-year-old can't do it, beats him to death. And it's absolutely repulsive. Now, oftentimes when we do these stories, people will say, oh, you just pick on Muslims. Well, obviously that's not true. When we do the story about Christians, oftentimes people will say, oh, you just pick on Christians. No. And sometimes people will say, oh, well, Muslims are worse because, look, there's killing involved, whereas in Christianity, they might disagree with what they think the laws should be, but they wouldn't do anything as grotesque as this, right, Anna?
Well, we just recently saw a similar case in Las Vegas where a couple beat a 7-year-old boy to death because he lied about reading the Bible and he lied about doing his homework. The little boy's name was Roderick Arrington, and his stepfather beat him to death. And it's just another tragic story where you have religious fundamentalists believing that they're doing the right thing in the name of God, but in reality, they're harming people over something that has no scientific backing, that has absolutely no proof. If you want to have your faith, you want to have your religion, I'm all for it. But when you're harming other people in the name of your religion, you can't have that. When you're murdering people in the name of your religion, you can't have that. It's a 7-year-old kid.
And I'm positive that both sides would say that they did it for morality, when killing your own 7-year-old kid is probably the single most immoral thing you could possibly do. But no, it's done in the name of morality, so it's okay. Now, obviously, it's not okay. They're both going to be punished, the one in the UK here and the Arrington story here in the US. And I want to make one thing clear here, right? So in the case of the Vegas story, right? So it's the stepfather, and oftentimes you'll see the stepfather more viciously beat the kids than if they were the father. And look, I'm not saying it's all stepfathers, don't be crazy, of course not. Most of the stepfathers, I imagine, are lovely people, etc., right? But there's something in our DNA that triggers some minority of stepfathers to be a little tougher on their kids that are not biologically related, okay? So I'm only saying that because people say it's not religion, it's that, right? And in the case of the Muslim woman, well, she seems like she was touched, right? She's hearing voices, etc. So people will say it's not the religion, it's just that she was crazy. So you're right, these people are crazy, and yes, they're vicious, and yes, they might have other reasons. But what religion does is it gives them an excuse.
I mean, the whole reason why we're in the Middle East is because of religious fundamentalists, because of people that torture their own people in the name of religion. These are extremists, right? These are the people that we're supposed to be fighting against. Now, do I agree with invading other countries and fighting these people? No, not really. But it exists, and it's stupid and naive to deny it. And of course, we always have to do these caveats because people oftentimes think that we are putting all religion down. right? But it's not all religion. It's the fundamentalists. It's the people that believe that harming others in the name of God is the moral thing to do. Those are the people that I have no respect for and no tolerance for. These 7-year-old kids died as a result of this stupidity because these morons have been brainwashed into thinking this is the right thing to do.
And think about how powerful the cult of religion is. That, I mean, especially in the case of the mother that's a biological mother, it is the strongest genetic imperative you have is to protect your kids. Once you have kids, I mean, that kicks in and you want to protect them at all costs. And instead they violate that genetic imperative and they kill their own kids because of some brainwashing propaganda they've had about what is moral. And that hypocrisy and irony is boundless.